Chairman Cook and members of the committee. I am Ray Saldana, City Council Member for District 4, and I'm here to testify in opposition to House Bill 2899. Now, on behalf of the City of San Antonio and a unanimous City Council and Mayor on this issue, who together represent the entire city of 1.4 million, my council colleagues and I are opposed for two reasons, with both evidence and experience that we don't believe it is needed. And we are also concerned about the negative perceptions, as we talk about perceptions, it will create across the country. So to begin, San Antonio will be the hardest hit by the inevitable backlash that the bill being proposed will have. Home to the Alamo, the Riverwalk, and the World Heritage Site and other attractions, San Antonio is the top tourist destination in the state. Not to mention the site of the 2018 NCAA Final Four and many future bids to come, we hope. One of the hallmarks of San Antonio is that the people feel at home in the city of San Antonio. We are a warm and welcoming city, a diverse city, and for those reasons, discrimination in any form is in direct conflict with who we are as a city. No matter how narrowly crafted this bill is, it will be perceived by people across the country and in Texas as discriminatory and does not reflect our values in San Antonio. The question is, why enshrine a discriminatory law into Texas law? Why force headlines across the country reporting that the Texas legislature passed a bathroom bill? The response may be to protect women and children and to ensure public safety. And in regards to public safety, my council colleagues and I share your interest in ensuring San Antonians are safe and protected. And opinions on public safety are important, but on this issue, they are not held up by facts. San Antonio has no problems with bathrooms or locker rooms. You have at your dais a copy of a letter from our police chief stating that, for the record, sexual assaults or other incidents in public restrooms are non-existent. This type of issue that HB 2899 specifically seeks to prevent. In fact, we have our own non-discrimination ordinance that we passed September 5th, 2003, on a night just like this that went past midnight. It took us about a year to get through our non-discrimination ordinance. Talking about the bathroom bill specifically, it says, this ordinance will not be construed as allowing any person to enter any sex-segregated space for any unlawful purpose. So we've already addressed the criminality you're seeking to prohibit. So since our updated non-discrimination ordinance was passed in 2013, we have had no complaints about transgender people making others feel unsafe in bathrooms. Without a need for this legislation and with great potential risks to our brand as a state, we are left scratching our heads as policymakers and law enforcement as to what problem 2899 is trying to solve. And so as a city with the most to lose and one that serves as a model with existing protections for all San Antonians, we ask that you take serious our opposition to this harmful bill. Thank you.
So you were elected, obviously, from a district in San Antonio. I'm from Houston. Do you think you know more about what your constituents want than me in the Texas legislature?
So I know what our folks want. I'm a policymaker who represents the folks that elected me. And we've stood the test of several elections who have elected me again and again, understanding that I represent their voice, and their voice is one that we don't like to see any discrimination upon any person, regardless of sexual orientation or being transgender, their life's choices. Therefore, in that respect, through affirmation of election, I believe that the folks that governed me, allowed me to govern with that voice.
Correct. It's interesting. We have different standards for when we want local control around here, and when we want to do away with it. I'm trying to understand why we have a need for uniformity here. I mean, it's not like, I can understand we had a texting and driving bill before us recently, and I can understand you're going through different jurisdictions, and you might have go through a smaller town, and you might have a different set of laws. I could see that, but I can't understand why we need a uniformity and why we can't rely on local leaders who know their constituents best, who are selected by the people of that area to make decisions for them. Because certainly, if your constituents weren't in line with what the council had passed, you wouldn't have a job.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Call our next witness, Tom Giovanetti, Institute for Policy Innovation, here to speak for.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Tom Giovanetti. I'm the president of the Institute for Policy Innovation. We are a 29-year-old free market conservative think tank in Dallas. I appreciate my opportunity to share our thoughts with you on 2899. And there are three things being distributed to you: a copy of an op-ed that I wrote in the Dallas Morning News on this topic, as well as a short 2-page paper explaining why we think 2899 is a far superior approach to this problem than the approach that was taken by the other body. As I mentioned, I run a conservative think tank. We believe in limited government, and we believe in limited government at all levels, federal, state, and local. That's why we were troubled with the approach that the other body took to this issue, because the approach taken in the Senate bill is to expand the power of state government in an unprecedented way into the most mundane areas of personal life. A person who believes in limited government does not think that they need the state to tell them what bathroom they're allowed to use. So I thought the Senate bill was the entirely wrong approach because it expands government. But in fact, if you actually look at the history of this issue, the whole way that this controversy arose in the first place was an expansion of municipal power. It was when the city of Charlotte, North Carolina, created a protected class and awarded specific benefits to that class that this entire controversy arose. It's important to understand that 2899 is in many ways almost the exact opposite of the Senate bill. While the Senate bill expanded...
Giovanetti,
Yes.
if you need to keep your comments specifically on this bill and not
Certainly.
referencing.
Certainly. The virtue of 2899 is that it limits government. It limits the ability of municipalities to get involved in the creation of protected classes and in awarding special benefits to those classes. In the op-ed that I wrote in the Dallas Morning News, I recommended that limited government rather than expanded government is actually the solution to this problem, and that's why we were delighted to see that 2899 takes that approach. It's a totally different approach, as I indicated, than most people have tried to do. The first two witnesses in favor of the legislation have argued that perception matters, and perception does matter, but facts also matter. And it's very important for people to game out and understand the way 2899 works. Under 2899, transgendered persons are free to choose whichever restroom they feel is appropriate for them, just as they are today, because it limits the ability of the state to make those sorts of directions. So the limited government solution to this problem is 2899 rather than expanding government. It's a solution that respects individual freedom. It respects the dignity of individuals to govern themselves and decide where they go. And it's important to understand that if something like 2899 had originally been on the books in North Carolina, the entire controversy would never have happened in North Carolina. It would have been entirely precluded. And if 2899 becomes law in Texas, the same thing will happen, because it will limit the ability of cities to get involved in this sort of social justice activity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Members, any questions? No questions. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for being here.